Welcome to the Family Office Sherpa podcast. I'm your host, Shaun Parkin, founder and managing director of Whole Road Investments. The aim of this podcast is to provide practical and implementable advice for those looking to build, manage, or service a family office. This is not, however, investment advice, so please check the disclaimer in the show notes. In this episode, we are covering how to build supportive scaffolding for your family office.
This is the Family Office Sherpa.
Recently, I was listening to a podcast interview with Seth Godin, and he mentioned how important the right scaffolding or support is for those looking to build a business. Now, when I say scaffolding for family office, what I'm referring to is the supportive structures and processes with suppliers, and they provide to enhance the office's capabilities without becoming a permanent fixture. So really what we're talking about here is internal and external support structure. Basically what it does is enables family office to build, adapt and scale their operational efficiency whilst maintaining control over the core function. So really what we're looking for here a lot of the time is being able to leverage those relationships to build better offices. It's scaffolding. So you build scaffolding around the house to support the building of the house or to paint the house or whatever. You use whichever metaphor you want. But when I say scaffolding, what I'm looking for is what can we use or take, not take advantage, but certainly leverage relationships that we are utilising to build a better office. And unfortunately, these required supports, are often unplanned, like they're not curated. So what we're looking here for is efficient curation and establishing something with purpose. So all through my podcast, it's always talked about purpose. So if you have a purpose, then and you're implementing that in your office, then the right scaffolding can really create a good structure. So what I thought I'd do is I'd provide a broad overview of how I've seen both the internal and external partners being curated to support the office long term. So really that's what we're looking for. So we'll start with investments. So when you have investments, you tend to have an internal team and external suppliers. But from the internal team, what we're looking for is, find someone that provides support via understanding the office needs and the unique sort of idiosyncrasies of that office. It's no good having a high-cost, highly sophisticated chief investment officer that doesn't provide guidance, education, and a willingness to sort of include family members and other people in to generate engagement, right? So we're really trying to leverage or lean onto people that are going to take that career capital and bring it into the office. If they are of the mindset, which is, well, this is the way I do it. I don't need to explain how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. This is what you're paying me for. Then I believe some people like that type of investment manager, but I believe that does is it sort of, you're missing a major education opportunity here that can provide support way after that person has left and, remove some of that key person risk kind of thing. The teach a man to fish mentality as opposed to, selling a man a fish, I guess, works really, really well in this environment. So do it, teach me how you do it. I will learn and I can do it myself. On an external perspective, again, like if you're using external managers or outsourced versions of it, same thing. Don't base your manager selection purely on the performance metrics, the previous performance metrics or something like that. If you're in need of aspects such as idea transfer or to assist with developing a network of contacts, use these good external managers and wealth managers, private banks and other providers. Make them work for their fee. Don't be afraid to dig into their technology. Don't be afraid to ask around their manager selection process. Don't be afraid to sort of dig into the way that they're doing the management for you and other aspects that can provide long-term structure. So really what we're doing is we're saying this is where we are now, but we can build good support networks to make, from an investment perspective, we can start to learn to do it ourselves. Catch our own fish, as it were. So next one is operational scaffolding, which I do a lot of work with in terms of getting that operational structure in place. So where can this scaffolding come from? This come from several sources. I'm starting to see those that provide, professional services, accounting and tax, those sorts of services also assist with things like technology implementation and selection. We're also starting to see the crossover between we do this, but we also do this. Now, you have to be really careful here in that get those firms that have actually got bona fides in the space for this, not those that say, oh, we're just going to plug this in because it seems that they're going somewhere else for it. Like advisor creep, you've got to really be careful of that. But if you can get someone that's, again, you're already paying here or you're using them here, but we can dig in, there might be a big global firm. You do see some of the bigger firms sort of having maybe an office in Toronto or London or New York or something like that where you're not potentially not, and they say, oh, they're doing this interesting thing over there. It's like, oh, we would like you to do that for us here. So for suppliers in the space as well as the offices, it's a really good opportunity to go, what else can we do? And what else can we do in terms of setting up that support? I'm also seeing wealth managers take on that admin burden themselves. Some claim to allow, back office, middle office plugins so that, the office itself just plugs straight into the middle back office structure. Again, though, you got to be wary because if you're wholly reliant on that, then you're vendor locked. You're not getting scaffolding here. You're getting, I don't know, without sort of stretching the metaphor too much, you're probably buying another house. So really what we're doing is we're saying, yes, we'll use your infrastructure and bolt it on and things like that, but just be careful because you don't want to be vendor locked. And then what that ends up happening is you're relying on a single counterparty for all that operational scaffolding. And then it's really hard at review to sort of go, well, we're going to move away from this. It's like, well, really? We're going to have to deal with all this, So you just got to make sure that you have one set of eyes on the fact that you're not too reliant on one single counterparty. Tech. So, when Hallroad started, that's all we really did, or what I really did, which was getting into deep in the weeds on the infrastructure, on the technology side. And we're starting to see some really good firms as standalone technology, I don't know if consultants is the right term, but, managed services, let's call them that, right? Firms that can provide access to their own curated technology stack. You're still facing off against the technology, but they help curate it for you. And they'll also assist with establishing and onboarding yours. So you're really taking, again, this career capital or this IP, and they're saying, these are all the things that we're going to go through it with. I would say go through the process with them. Don't let them just do it all themselves because obviously there's things that can be missed and stuff like that. But also if you do it with them, you understand what they're trying to achieve here and what the underlying, technology is for. And also what they're good at is because they've already got clients, they can see where gaps are. So they can add others that might not be there. It's like, okay, we've got the investment reporting structure, great. But the private markets automation piece isn't in play. We need to find a technology solution there, or we need pacing software or whatever. So they can be really, really helpful from that point of view. Really helpful for those who need to outsource that piece because it is very, very tough to get it right, and switching costs can be high. And also, if you can get someone to drive it for you, that can be very helpful too. It can also, again, allow officers to lean on those that have done the hard work on due diligence, on the pricing, time management, like what's the, managing expectations. If you're an executive and you've said, right, we're going to get this new infrastructure in place, having someone say, well, that will take this long and cost this much is much better than, oh, I didn't realize it was going to cost this much and take this long. So that can be super helpful. Next, trusted advisors and family counsel, right? Whatever you want to call it. It's such an important part of it, such an important part of this scaffolding piece, which is specialists that are there to support the family via their experience, really, connectivity, and hopefully an ability to act in a way that ensures the office is a steward for future generations. When you establish these trusted advisory boards or family councils, really look for those that can add something to it, that aren't incentivized to be something that they're not, and that are really there to act as an advocate and a guide for the office itself. And once you get those people, just the ability to sort of go, we have no idea what's happening here. And they go, I have seen this, I know this, or I know someone that does. And then that sort of scaffolding, that trusted advice scaffolding, is just such an important piece of the family office structure. So again, sort of trusted family office advisors. And fractional talent, that's the next one. So human resources. One of the hardest aspects of family office staffing is attracting the right people without blowing out costs and without having to sort of go, well, we think there's a job here, and in 6 months' time, well, actually, there's not. And, it's really, really challenging. So, like everyone knows, the decision to build a standalone office is an expensive one. So take advantage of this new trend. I did cover this in a previous podcast on fractional talent or fractional employees, which is there is a cohort of people out there that are highly talented, sophisticated, again, career capital heavy, willing to work 1 day a month or 1 day a week or whatever it ends up being, and you can take advantage of that to create that. Imagine sort of having someone come in, I used to be the CIO for this incredibly huge whatever, pension fund, family office, endowment fund, something that aligns with us, and just to be able to impart all that knowledge in a really short space of time because they're just so good at it. I've seen it happen. Like you stand there and you go, oh my God, I can't believe this level of information can be transferred so quickly. So that scaffolding, that human resource scaffolding is so impactful. So yeah, fractional talent. And family dynamics. So I'm starting to see this come through, and it's a really challenging area. And we're starting to see some of the suppliers like wealth managers and things like that come into this area. And these family office dynamics, or these family office, in particular, the generational, like the wealth transfer piece and things like that, they're very, very handy to having that, because let's face it, if you're a family office, it's rare that you're going to have this level of skill in handling this kind of thing. And sometimes it's really, really good to have an external person covering it too, someone that's not part of the family or not part of the fabric. And also, you've got to make sure that they're having, their KPIs or whatever term you want to do in terms of measuring efficacy is not investments or similar. It's getting to the root of an issue or a challenge or a transfer or whatever that looks like, and then being able to, to a certain degree, take on those learnings, because that's what it is. That family dynamic scaffolding is understanding how to talk to each other sometimes, understanding, to listen, rather than trying to explain to people, taking on that idea that we should be listening and taking into consideration other things other than this and this. So that family dynamics, or whatever you want to call it, but that those people that can come in and create that structure, that support around how to have these discussions, how to talk to future generational components that might be happening or before they happen, all this kind of thing, right? So incredibly important, incredibly powerful. And last one is the kind of a little bit more of a fun one, which is lifestyle assets. One of the best things about wealth is the ability to purchase cool stuff, boats, planes sometimes if you're that way, other houses for family. I see that a lot. People have a liquidity event. It's like, we're doing this for family, we're doing this for the kids, stuff like that. But one of the challenges with that is you end up, to be honest, especially on the housing side, you potentially become a property manager. And that's a big time suckage for a lot of people. So this being a little bit lower stakes than some of the other ones, but no more, it's still very necessary to have those people that can take on the administrative and maintenance burden of all these things. There's a lot to be said for having process around these assets, because as everyone finds, I thought I had the house this weekend, or I had access to this weekend, or whatever. Just having some process and some, again, support and structure around that can be super helpful. And, we do see arguments and people falling out over what might seem trivial things, but having some process around sort of access and who can do what and what's it available for and what the system is, and things like booking systems for holiday houses, all that kind of stuff, really stop some of the potential friction. So yeah, lifestyle assets, really, really important to get that support in there as well. So hopefully that was helpful. I really like the idea of scaffolding as a term. So, feel free to use it. It's like, where is our scaffolding for this aspect and this aspect? I think it's worth a conversation across even drawing it out, right? So next family meeting, we're talking about where is our support? And if we have the support, have we curated it properly? Is there purpose to each thing? And really, have we got it in place? And are we getting that transfer across to the office itself so we can be self-sufficient if we want to be? But also what it does allow you to do is to get a real understanding of all the different pieces that go to work in terms of the family office. So that's it. That's it for the episode. Hopefully it was interest. Make sure you press the little alert button if there is one on there, and rate it if you can. It's always fun to see the ratings. If you're looking for me, I'm on LinkedIn, so Shaun Parkin, Hall Road Investments, and feel free to email me if that's of interest to you. Shaun, so SHAUN @hallroad.com.au. Until next time, thank you.